AMP2.TV presents You and Your Doctor, teaching you to live a longer and healthier life. Proudly sponsored by All County Healthcare, where people are the heart of our business. All County Healthcare is a Medicare certified agency where one call will service all your home care health needs. For more information, call 954-717-7027 or visit our website, allcountyhealthcare.com. Now, let's get informed to living a longer and healthier life. Here is your host for today's show.
Hi, welcome. I'm Lorena Anderson. I'm the energy shifter, but we're here to give information for all of your medical needs, no matter what they may be. So you're here on air with Mary Underwood. She is with, she's the Vice President of Artist Senior Living. And this is sponsored by All County Healthcare, Inc., and also given to you, presented by AMP2 TV. So I'd like to welcome you, Mary. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
That's great. So tell me a little bit about you. First of all, where you're located.
Like you had said, I'm Mary Underwood. I'm the Vice President of Memory Care Services for Artist Senior Living. We are we're a newer assisted living company that is based out of McLean, Virginia. And I think the key for us is we primarily do memory care. I'm a social worker by training and education and have been working solely with people with dementia for 27 years.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Very passionate about it. It's, it's a unique thing to be able to do every day. So.
Excellent. So give us a little bit of insight. Dementia versus Alzheimer's. Right. Is there a big difference there?
Well, that's the number one question I hear. When I do a lot of trainings for staff, I do support groups for families, and we throw the word dementia around and Alzheimer's, and always within a matter of moments, I have somebody raise their hand and say, what's the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia? Dementia generally is that cluster of symptoms that a person is going to experience. Increased confusion, poor decision-making, difficulty with judgment, sequencing, all those things make up dementia, the umbrella term that we use. And then the specific diseases cause dementia. So Alzheimer's causes dementia. Strokes, multi-infarct, vascular dementia causes dementia. There's over 60 things that could cause this cluster of symptoms. And again, we'll hear families say, my dad has dementia, but it hasn't turned into Alzheimer's yet. That's not how it works. If you have dementia, it has to be caused by something. And Alzheimer's just happens to be the most common cause of dementia in seniors.
Wow, that's very interesting. Very interesting. Because I've not heard of that before, that Alzheimer's causes dementia.
It doesn't start with dementia and lead to Alzheimer's. It's Alzheimer's causes dementia.
Wow.
Just like, again, there's Lewy bodies, there's frontal dementia. There's a lot of different kinds of things that cause dementia, but you don't start with dementia and lead to the disease. Again, Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia. And unfortunately, a lot of times we may not be able to figure out the exact cause. So a person will be labeled with a diagnosis of dementia because it isn't always easy to specifically figure out what is the kind of dementia that's occurring.
Gotcha. Excellent. Yeah. Okay, well, that's really interesting to know. That's the first time that I've really kind of heard that, understanding the knowledge of that and how it works together.
Right. And as a professional, we don't make it easy always because we'll throw the word dementia, we'll throw Alzheimer's. It does get cloudy, but again, dementia is that umbrella term. The specific diseases fall under that umbrella.
Okay, very good, very good. Tell me a little bit, how does somebody really recognize whether or not someone is just, failing in memory or if they really do have some serious problems going on? How do we know the difference?
Eventually, we know the difference, and usually it's 2 to 3 years into a person having some form of dementia. Because as we get older, we all experience that slip of the tongue, or it's on the tip of my tongue, or it's not abnormal to forget things as we get older. However, the first signs that there is some form of dementia going on is often forgetfulness. So many times I work with families who, when I ask when their loved one was diagnosed, they'll say 2 or 3 years ago.
Gotcha.
But I'll say, when did they first show signs? And they'll say, 5 or 6 years ago. A person often goes up to 2 to 3 years in the disease process before it's identified.
Excellent.
And it does, again, make it challenging because forgetting things and being able to recall.
Well, it's kind of normal.
It's very normal.
And especially at a certain age.
Yes.
I know that sometimes I'm forgetting things. Like I think I stopped at Dunkin' Donuts and I got a banana and I got a couple of coffees and then I left my phone on the counter.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, oh no.
Or names, especially, I play the alphabet game a lot in my head where it's, what is that person's name? And I'll go Alice, Abby, no, Barbara, Bet. And you do, but eventually you get to it.
Yeah.
A person who's with dementia, they can go through the alphabet 100 times and they're not going to get to it.
Well, I just want to interrupt you just for a second. And this is a call-in program. So if you have questions about dementia, Alzheimer's, what the symptoms are, please, by all means, give us a call. It's 888-565-1470. I'll repeat that. Just in case you forgot. You forgot. Or if you need to get a piece of paper and a pen, the number is 888-565-1470, 1470. You can also see this on the website, allcountyhealthcare.com. We're streaming that live. You can also view us on www.nnradio.com, where you will be able to see that live as well. So please, if you have any questions, this is a participatory exchange here. Please call in with any questions that you might have. So thank you.
You're welcome. And this is for doing this for 27 years, it is very rare that I come across somebody who doesn't know somebody who's had some form of dementia. It's so impactful on so many people's lives.
And it's also rampant. My godmother died from it. My mother-in-law ended up dying from it. So, I have personal knowledge of it.
And most people do.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of this disease. So.
Well, that's why I find that so interesting that we've never really heard the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's. As a matter of fact, most people end up separating the two, thinking that maybe dementia isn't as bad as Alzheimer's.
Right. My mom has dementia, but it hasn't gotten to Alzheimer's yet.
Yeah, that's what I've heard a lot
and
of.
I think because people have a certain perception of people with Alzheimer's, and that perception is usually what occurs later on in the disease process. Gotcha. There's people who have the early stages of Alzheimer's, who a lot of people wouldn't recognize that they even have an issue going on. It still is Alzheimer's. It just is at a different stage. But again, people think of Alzheimer's as that late stage, can't recognize family, need a lot of care.
Well, and that takes me to the other question, too. If somebody thinks that there might be a problem or a concern, what are the next steps? What might they be looking for or looking at?
Well, I think the first thing they need to do is often the last thing they want to do, and that's to talk to your doctor. People are so afraid that once they acknowledge it, that there's no going back. And again, I think the important thing, and we started to talk about it a little bit, is when is it not normal aging?
Right.
And again, oftentimes families wait 2 to 3 years before they finally address it and say, now it's a problem. There are so many things as we age that can cause issues with memory. For women, menopause has an effect on your brain.
And other things.
Yes. Especially, lots of things.
Yeah.
Medications, depression, which is very, it's common to see elderly people suffer from depression.
Yes.
Depression has an impact on cognition. So I think a lot of people just ignore it out of fear of, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to recognize it. But it is to talk with your doctor, start screening early that there's something that's happening.
Yeah.
An example, my father-in-law had, he was starting to become increasingly forgetful, having trouble. We talked about having trouble with names. He was having trouble with his family members' names.
Oh.
And that's a different,
Okay.
not remembering an actor, it happens to all of us. Not remembering your grandchildren, that's a little different.
Yeah.
Remembering, forgetting parts of an event. Going to a wedding saying, I don't remember who I sat next to. Not remembering you went to the wedding at all. again, it's the extreme of what's being forgotten.
Gotcha.
So he was having trouble with names, mentioned it to my mother-in-law, waited, finally had brought it up to her doctor. And the doctor had looked at his list of medication, realized he was taking Benadryl every night to help him sleep, which was decreasing a chemical in his brain. He stopped taking the Benadryl and was able to go back to almost his baseline.
Wow.
So I think people's assumptions of it is Alzheimer's, nothing I can do about it, keeps them from having that conversation with their
Or they're
doctor.
just too scared.
They're scared.
Who wants to go into the doctor and have that diagnosis?
Right. Because there's, it's the one of the top 10 causes of death. It is the only one. There's no cure, there's no treatment, and there's no prevention.
Oh, jeez.
So when you get the diagnosis, it's not like other diagnoses where you can say, okay, well, what surgery am I going to have? What medication are you going to put me on? There's no cure, there's no treatment, there's no prevention. So once it's out there, it's something that you have to accept and live with, and there's a lot of denial that happens.
Well,
with the disease.
Absolutely. Well, it seems as if we have a caller that's called in. Richard, are you there?
Yes, long-time listener, first-time caller. How are you guys doing?
Good. Welcome to all you and your doctor. Please, you have a question for Mary Underwood.
Well, yes, I was just wondering. I've experienced early onset Alzheimer's with my wife. She was diagnosed at age 52 and had symptoms for a year or two before that. And she's in full-time assisted living now and what would be considered the latter stages of Alzheimer's. And she is in clinical drug trials and whatnot. And I've seen some other stuff coming out about it might be some of the amyloid protein plaque might be a result of immune system leftovers from where the body is fighting infection and whatnot. And I was just wondering if we're diagnosing Alzheimer's earlier because we know more about it. I know there's a gene that predisposes some people to early onset, but I was just wondering, I've also read that they're finding the early stages of the amyloid protein buildup in people as young as their early 30s. Do you have any answers on that?
Wow, that's a great question. Thank you, Richard.
That's a lot of great questions.
Yes.
So, first of all, sorry for that. That's a tough diagnosis at any age, but especially somebody as young. I'm 52 is quite young.
And especially, as you said, that, it takes 2 or 3 years before it's really diagnosed.
Right, and Richard even identified, and somebody as young as 50, there's still that denial and that wait and that delay, thinking it might be something else. So, there was a bunch of questions, and I think I may have forgotten some, but we'll start with, the trials and the things that are out there. They are looking at amyloid. They are looking, the tough thing, I think, with this is there's a lot of research going on, but there's so many possible causes that they're looking at. My hope is that there's some really smart researchers somewhere who are ready to unlock the key. But, the amyloid has been an issue that's been, on the forefront for quite a while. It's figuring out how does that happen. And yes, the infection viruses, that has been one of the most recent things that's been discussed. But your question about the diagnosis and the earlier, I think there is a much greater awareness. Today actually happens to be Dr. Alzheimer's birthday, the physician who first discovered the disease. Years ago, people wouldn't talk about it, or it was called hardening of the arteries or senility. It was thought of as that's what happens. There is a much greater awareness. People are much more aware. Now there's centers that specifically focus on diagnosing different forms of dementia. Again, I think people are much more aware than they were. When I started in this field 27 years ago, people wouldn't even say the word Alzheimer's because there was such this fear and stigma. So again, I think there's a lot more research. There's a lot more differentiation of the dementias, that it's not just about getting the diagnosis, but it's what kind of dementia does this person have?
Yeah, and not only that, I would think that also finding it out early enough, because if I remember correctly, there are some drugs that are out there that are trying to help with the memory loss.
Right. There are some medications that are helping to, it doesn't, there's this debate, does it slow the progression of the disease? It helps maintain certain functional levels. People, when they think of dementia or they think of Alzheimer's, they think about memory. That this is not a memory disease. This is a disease of the brain.
Gotcha.
So it's a communication disease. It's a using the bathroom disease. It's a walking disease. It's not just about memory. So the longer you can maintain a person to dress themselves or use the bathroom independently, the longer they are able to stay home or in an assisted living and not need a more, dependent
Intense,
level of care.
Yeah, a lockdown situation then.
Or, or a nursing home level of care. And,
Right.
There's a time and a place for every part of the disease process and care level. So it's not even if the medications maybe don't work, when a person is diagnosed early, they still have the ability to have a voice in regards to what they want to happen down the road. Just because a person receives a diagnosis of dementia, many people we work with now know they have the diagnosis. They understand what that means. My dad was diagnosed last year with dementia, and he's been able to say to us, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. They could still name who they want as their power of attorney and their health care proxies. So
did we, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Richard, did we answer your question? Do you have any other questions for Mary Underwood?
No, it was just more of a discussion, actually. But what she says is absolutely true. My wife was a nurse, and she knew what the progression of the disease was, and we talked about it, and we actually made plans, and we pretty much executed her plan, and her family is on board with everything. And I do want to say to the folks that work in these memory care centers, having been associated with assisted living for over 2 years now, or right at 2 years, including full-time memory, you guys are angels. You do a great job. I mean, it's a tough environment to work in. It's difficult for me to visit just because I'm not used to that, and my life has never been around that. So hats off to you, and like I said, hopefully we'll continue to find better ways to deal with this disease. And maybe it'll get some funding that other diseases have got. Because, we're all going to be there one day and have a good look at this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Richard, thank you so very much for calling in. We really do appreciate it. It's so tough. And I commend you, to be doing whatever you are doing to be able to help your wife and the rest of the family too, because that's one of the other things that you deal with is the caretakers,
right?
Because after a certain point, the person who has Alzheimer's, they don't know anymore.
Right. It becomes much tougher on the caregivers.
Yes.
And, people refer to us as the experts in this. And yes, we know the disease, and yes, we know how to do care. But the people who are living with the disease and the caregivers really are the experts as to what's happening out there. And, it's the good thing, too, in having done this for 27 years, that 27 years ago, nobody chose to go into the field of working with people with dementia.
Yeah.
It was kind of, you worked in a nursing home and that's where you were put to work.
Right.
There's now people who choose to do this. It is their passion. It's what they love to do.
Yeah.
So there are people who are very passionate about making sure your wife gets, the best care she can for this disease.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Richard. We really do appreciate you calling in, and we wish you the best.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Great. Well, he brought up a really interesting point. One of the things I'd like to ask is whether or not they're seeing it at a younger age.
There is, early onset dementia or early onset Alzheimer's. It is still a small percentage of, people who have Alzheimer's. But again, there is an awareness to it. And there's so many different forms of dementia again, and they're even looking now at, are there different forms of Alzheimer's? Is there different things that are occurring? Again, years ago it was Alzheimer's, and that was it, no matter how it appeared. Now they're really able to differentiate, what is it, early onset Alzheimer's? Is it a different kind of Alzheimer's? They really are able to kind of almost personalize the form of dementia that the person has.
Well, you said something very interesting too. It's just not memory loss.
Right.
It happens to be a bodily loss too, because they forget to eat, or they forget how to use the bathroom, and sometimes just walking. They forget how to walk.
And it's not even just forgetting either, because again, Alzheimer's is a disease of the brain. So you think about what your brain controls, and it controls everything that you do. So when a person with, and it's things that people don't think about, when a person with Alzheimer's looks at your shirt, their brain may not be able to process that it's red. How their brain processes it is very different. So how they see things, how things taste, the touch of things, even sounds, to be able to process where the sound comes from is done in the brain, and their brain is broken. So again, it's a hearing, tasting, and it's not just they forget how to walk, but that part of the brain it just doesn't connect to the rest of the body that says, because people do think it is a memory disease and it's just about forgetting, but it's about everything the brain does.
Gotcha. So what would some of your recommendations be for the caretaker, being the fact that that is the one individual that is really, handling the brunt of the disease?
Right. And they are. One, you can't do it alone. There are resources out there. And we hear a lot of times, and I'm very involved with the Alzheimer's Association, and, families will call and say there's no resources. And there are resources, you've just never needed to know about them. So learn, get on every mailing list possible.
I was going to say, how does somebody then find out where the support groups are?
Right. There is the Alzheimer's Association, there's assisted livings, there are, nursing homes, there's, Alzheimer's community care, there's, a lot of resources.
You find that through the hospitals?
You can... most senior centers will have that information.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, you internet, Google Alzheimer's. I would not advise Googling Alzheimer's to learn about the disease, because there's a lot of information that's very scary and inaccurate. But, resources in your zip code. You certainly can call us in regards to elder law attorneys that are good to go to.
Why don't you give your information one more time then, so that we know who to contact?
We are, again, we're Artis Senior Living. We are in Boca Raton.
And if you have any questions, you can email me, LorinaAnderson@gmail.com, and that's spelled Laurina Anderson with an O, and I can forward any questions that you might have.
I will share my email.
Okay, please.
If people have questions, again, we do have a website, artistseniorliving.com, and that will
spell artist.
Oh, it's people think of it as artist.
Yeah.
It's artist, ARTIS. No T at the end.
Okay.
Senior Living. So it's ARTIS, seniorliving.com.
Okay.
And my email is M, as in Mary, Underwood, at Artis, ARTIS, MGMT.com. So if you were, it's Artis Senior Living, it's the management company. So Artis, MGMT.
Oh, okay, management. Okay.
Yes.
And
yes. So M Underwood at artismgmt.com.
Okay, super.
Yeah.
So you can get a hold of either one of us if you have any questions that have come up after our interview here. Please send us an email if you can. If you want to know more about Artis as well, either contact Mary, or you can contact me through email, and we will get you the information.
We'll get you the answer. So
yes,
and
absolutely.
I think for families, what's really important too is a lot of times families will only keep that information that pertains to them at this moment. I often suggest get a binder, or if you're somebody who does everything on the computer, have a folder that if you see an article about wandering and think this doesn't apply to my loved one, tuck it away, put it aside, so that if that issue ever comes, you don't have to say what happened to it. Just keep those resources for, we say hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Learn about not just what's happening now, but what's happening down the road.
Yes, what's going to happen.
Right. I mean, support groups, there are so many educational opportunities out there. Go to them. Learn. If you go to a conference and get one bit of information, it's one more piece than
Yeah.
you had before.
Yes.
Again, avoid the internet.
Yeah.
Just,
Contact the professionals.
exactly.
Because a lot of times, you can get that false information, or you'll just be scared, and then that'll just add to the denial.
Right. Absolutely.
So, and then also, if you do happen to have somebody in your family that is dealing with this disease, please make sure that you don't try to correct them. Just play along with them. They don't know any better anyhow. And it will relieve you of trying to make sure that, the story is correct. They don't really care at that point. They just need your love. So, give them a hug, look at them in the eyes, touch their cheeks, tell them how beautiful they are, how happy you are that they are in your life. And I've got to tell you, it will make for a much more calm relationship as you're going through this. But please, get a hold of the support group.
Yeah.
There's many different senior living facilities. I know,
Yeah, we do regular educational opportunities for families.
Fabulous.
We hold a support group every Wednesday in the community.
Excellent.
When you talked about the arguing and correcting, and the thing that we teach our staff and really try to drill into them is that their brain is broken, but their heart is not.
Yeah.
So the facts of a situation they may not recall, but they still very much have the ability to recognize the emotion behind the
Absolutely.
situation.
Yeah.
Are they being rushed? Are they being questioned? Are they feeling purposeful? Are they being respected? So again, their brain is broken, but their heart is not, is the line we really use a lot with our staff.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Well, we're going to take a commercial break, but I just really wanted to thank you, Mary, for taking time out, educating us on the differences between dementia, Alzheimer's, what you can do should you have a family member that you think might have some symptoms. Don't run away. Take it to your doctor, because just as she had said, sometimes just a
medication, a depression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid of it. It's much better to know about the disease than playing denial, because
And as Richard called in and said, his wife got the diagnosis early and was able to be part of the plan down the road for herself.
Right. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
All County Healthcare is locally owned and operated, serving the Tri-County area, Palm Beach, Dade, and Broward counties for the last 25 years. The practice of medicine is changing dramatically. All County Healthcare still does it the old-fashioned way, where our nurses and healthcare professionals come into your home to service your medical needs, providing you the fastest and best care possible. For more information, call 954-717-7027. And remember, Medicare Home Care is covered by Part A of Medicare with no out-of-pocket cost to you. It's your decision, and only your decision, on what healthcare agency you use. Call today. All County Home Health Care, Inc. at 954-717-7027. License 200999096.
Hi, I'm Deanna Barron. I'm a nurse with All County Healthcare. Getting older is not for sissies. That's what one of my patients says. And it's funny, but it's true. Live long enough and you'll get arthritis, skin cancer, and probably one of the common chronic diseases like CHF, COPD, and diabetes. At All County Home Care, we teach you how to manage your disease. We make sure you know how to take your medication, how to recognize the signs and symptoms before requiring hospitalization, no matter how many visits it takes. You didn't move to Florida to be sick. You moved here to enjoy the rest of your life. And that's exactly what our team of nurses, therapists, and aides at All County help you do. When the doctor says you need home care, remember, the agency is your choice. Choose All County Home Health. We give you what you need to get well and to stay well.
You are listening to You and Your Doctor, Living Longer and Healthier, an informative show that helps you find answers to questions you always wanted to ask, but did not have that somebody that could make a difference in your life. Call into the show if you have a question at 888-565-1470, and we will put you on the air to inform all our listeners. Now, back to our show.
Hi, welcome back. This is Lorena Anderson with You and Your Doctor. This is brought to you by AMP2 TV, sponsored by All County Healthcare, who's really interested in making sure that your living and your health is at the utmost. So we have now Mr. Lou. Mr. Lou.
Lorena, my name is very difficult to pronounce. It's called Biasi.
Biasi. Lou Biasi.
Thank you, Lorena. Thank you for having me on.
Welcome. He is the vice president with All County Healthcare, Inc., and it is a pleasure to have you on.
It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to inform all you seniors what you're really entitled to as far as home health care.
Okay. Well, tell us a little bit. What is home health care?
Well, home health care basically came into existence many, many years ago. It was done by visiting nurses who visited the homes of those that were elderly people who were sick and couldn't take care of themselves, and they did it on a volunteer basis. In 1968, under the Social Security Reform Act, Medicare came into existence. Mm-hmm. And part of Medicare, as you heard Sandy say, there was Part A and Part B last week. Well, Medicare allowed people that were elderly, that were sick, to entitle to home care. Mm-hmm. It was a method for the government to primarily say we could save expenses by not keeping the patient in the hospital, and he get the same benefit and probably recover faster if he's at home in his home environment. Mm-hmm. And under the state of Florida, there's different types of home health care. There's what we call respite and custodial care.
Okay.
That's mainly done by home health aides, and I know some of you probably had a home health aide in your home once or twice, or maybe you're going to have one eventually.
Okay, and what is that they do? What is that particular job title or description of what they do?
The home health aide is usually CNA or home health aide.
Okay, CNA, yeah, okay.
And certified nurse's aide, and what they do is they mainly tend to the patient's needs, or ADLs, activities for daily living.
Okay.
If you need help dressing, bathing, toiletry, transferring, a number of things, meal preparation, they will assist you in doing that. And they will also do some light housekeeping, making sure your laundry and your bed is done. And they'll take you out shopping. They'll take you out to lunch, or they'll take you out to dinner. They're more or less a companion.
Okay, great.
And if you treat them as friendly as a companion, trust me, it's like having another person in your home, a family member. And, my mom had a home health aide for 5 years, and my dad had a home health aide for 5 years.
Wow.
And when it came to my mom telling me, make sure Dolores gets the right food, get this, get that. Well, Dolores got treated better than I did after a while. So Dolores really became part of the family, and thank God.
Well, that's because she was there all the time,
Right, thank God for Dolores, because it saved me a tremendous amount of energy and time, and it could let me do what I wanted to do to run my company, to run my business. And I can tell you, Dolores was a godsend. And all these home health days that were up there, they deserve a lot of credit.
Something I know about them personally as well. I've had quite a few of my clients that were in their later years. Mm-hmm. And the one family that I knew, husband and wife, they had 24-hour care 7 days a week. They had 3 different shifts of CNAs. And I've got to tell you, God bless them. It was amazing, the things that they would do and the love that they gave. And that's really, compassion. It was hard. It was hard to watch them going through these phases. Later on in life, they were in their 80s and 90s.
It's like you just heard the lady from Art Estate. It's you have to love what you do.
Yeah.
And these healthcare providers, they really love what they do. They get attached to the family members.
Yes.
They get attached to the patient. They get attached to the family members. And, that's one thing that we started with 25 years ago. We started with 3 patients. We grew and grew and grew, and we ended up growing into, we call it one of the oldest licenses, which is a tri-county license.
Wow.
Which covers Palm Beach, Broward, and Dade.
Okay.
And we can provide that 24-hour care. We can provide that 8-hour care, 4-hour care. We could provide a transportation. We have a great transportation program under American Staffing. And one of our transportation programs that we have is we'll take you out back and forth to the doctor's office for $59. You can't even get Uber today for $59.
Goodness.
and that's with a home health aide
wow.
with you for 4 hours. We'll take you to the doctor's appointment, take you shopping, take you home, make sure you get your meal prepared.
Wow.
But that's only for $59. So there is affordable health care out there, and we pride ourselves in good quality, affordable health care.
Uh-huh. So I just want to let everyone know, all the audience and listeners out there, that if you have any questions about home health care, please call us at 888-565-1470. Call in, ask Lou some questions here. I've got to tell you, this man has got an amazing amount of knowledge about who's qualified, and we're going to get into that. Who's qualified, what particular plan you might be looking at, all the services that can be provided, and not only if you are dealing with some issues at home, but if you have a family member, whether it's your aunt or your father or your mother that are dealing with some of these issues and you just can't handle it anymore, please give him a call. What number should he read?
You can call me 954-717-7027.
Okay, now
in my
one
office,
more slower.
954
Okay.
717-7027.
Okay.
Tell me you want to talk to Lou Biasi, and I'll get back to you ASAP.
Excellent.
And down the road, most of my patients will have my cell phone number. They'll call me on weekends if they have a problem.
Really?
And we tend that, we're a local company, and we want to make sure they get that type of quality care.
And that's what I know about you, too.
Yeah.
That it's all about your clients and your patients, making sure that they're well taken care of.
You just heard our nurse Deanna on the phone. And from the private division and from the respite custodial care, we branched out to become a Medicare certified agency.
Explain that to us a little bit more.
I'm happy to. Medicare requires that you be, in the state of Florida, ACA requires you to become a Medicare certified agency. And what you have to do is you have to go through a process of screening through a credentialing agency. That could be a JACO or ACHC, and a number of these chaps where you get credentialized through these companies where you basically become a Medicare provider. Okay. Once you become a Medicare provider, that allows you to get a billing number where you can bill Medicare. In Medicare for the seniors and for those that are covered under Medicare, whether it's Medicare Straight Medicare, Medicare Part A and B, Medicare Medicaid Advantage programs, what you do is Medicare Part A will cover the total expense of your home care.
Okay.
The same as if you went into hospital.
Uh-huh.
And the most amazing thing is that, as Deanna, you heard the commercial, Deanna, one of my nurses, said it's your choice. You have a choice to select the agency that you want to select. Mm-hmm. It's not the doctor's choice, although sometimes doctors will recommend it. Sometimes if you go in a hospital, the case manager has their favorite agencies. Mm-hmm. But remember, it's your choice.
Okay, excellent.
And you want to select the agency that is going to give you the best quality care.
So who would be eligible for home health care?
Anyone that's on Medicare,
okay,
that's 65 or older, or totally disabled. Today I was visiting a young man, 20 years old, who had ALS.
Oh.
Sad thing. And he's entitled basically for he's entitled to home health care because he's on Medicare. He was if you're totally disabled and you
so the age doesn't have anything to do with it?
Age has no bearing to it.
Okay.
Right?
But it has to be totally disabled?
Yeah, or 65.
Okay.
Upon 65, you are entitled to get onto Medicare. It's the excuse me. It's the year that it's the month that you were born.
If you were born
on the 25th of May, you get on Medicare the 1st of May.
Oh, okay.
So the answer is those that are coming up to 65. And let me say this, if I may. You have a choice. Medicare is the straight Medicare, Part A and Part B, as Sandy said, is what you want to stay on.
Well, and in case they weren't with us last week, it was Sandy Jacobson. And he was just explaining to us the various parts of Medicare. Medicare A, Medicare B.
Part C and Part D.
Part C and Part D. Part C is the Advantage.
So Part D is basically, Part D is your prescription drug program.
But C
is the Medicare Advantage plan.
Right, that's what I was saying.
Now, you'll see tremendous amount of commercials put on by, and I'm not knocking any company, trust me.
No, but we just want to make sure, though, that these people know which plan, because as Sandy had mentioned last week, is that if you end up getting on the wrong plan from the very beginning, your chances of getting off of it are slim to none.
Right.
It's very, very difficult. So it's really important that you take a look at Medicare Part A and Part B.
Straight Medicare.
Straight Medicare. The Advantage is not quite something that is going to be to your advantage. Is that right?
Well, the Medicare Advantage plans are run by private agencies.
Oh, okay.
And primarily they're the, again, the Humanas of the world, the Uniteds of the world, AvMeds of the world that came in and said, we can give you this, and this for free. well, you know there's very little that you're going to get for free.
Right.
You know, as long as you're healthy, those plans are great.
Yes.
When you get sick, and I say, gee, I want to go to this hospital. Well, your plan doesn't cover it. Mm-hmm. Or I need this. I want to go to this facility. Oh, your plan doesn't cover it. Or I want to go see this physician. Or your plan doesn't cover it.
Wow.
Medicare is accepted universally all over the country. If you had cancer and you want to go to MD Anderson, you can go. If you want to go up to Boston, one of the hospitals in Boston, you can go. You want to go to Jackson, you can go. You don't have to get any prior approval to see any physician. I was doing a seminar, it was funny, in a Baptist church just recently in Delray. And a lady said to me, you know, I'm on one of these plans and I need a Holter monitor. Well, I said, how long ago was the Holter monitor ordered? She says, 8 weeks ago. I said, you've been waiting for a Holter monitor for 8 weeks? She said, yes. Well, she could have died in 8 weeks.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
So what happens is in those plans, you're talking to someone on the phone who might not even be have any clinical experience. Might be a high school girl or college girl just saying, well, we'll put you on the list. If you were on Medicare and the doctor wrote a Holter monitor, you'd have it the next day.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Right? Or you'd have home care the next day.
Well, right? And let's get back. I'd like to know more about your home care. What else do you offer?
Home care, like for instance, if you're on home care, if you're on Medicare home care, of course you get skilled nursing. It has to have a skill. As comparison to respite and custodial care, there's no skill necessary in respite custodial care.
Okay, that's the CNAs.
Right. The CNAs normal. That's paid for either by cash or long-term insurance.
Okay.
Medicare is paid for by Medicare Part A.
Right.
Now, we can cover PT, that's physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. If you're a stroke victim and you're just coming out of the hospital, you might need all three services, speech, occupational, physical therapy, as well as nursing. Right? We can provide you with home health aides that come into the house for 1 hour to 1 hour and a half a day to make sure you bathe, you clean, etc. And whatever services you need that the doctor would prescribe, those are the services you're going to get. Whether we have if you're a wound care patient, we do a tremendous amount of wound care. Wound care is a very, very, very serious thing. Wound care, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
If it gets infected badly, you could lose a leg, you could lose a limb.
Well, yeah, because it takes so much longer for someone who is in their senior years to heal properly. So,
and one of the things we just started recently, we realized that most of the readmissions to hospitals today, after talking to a lot of the hospitals, was COPD, respiratory disease.
Yes, that's true.
So we started a respiratory hygiene team, which consists of a respiratory therapist and a whole team of clinical people who can come into you now, because we're the only company right now in South Florida or the Tri-County area that we purchased, as again Ed Salazar said last week.
Yeah, Ed Salazar was our guest last week.
We purchased a number of these units percussion units that can basically assist you in your breathing. It increases your breathing capacity, it gets you back up and out and off of oxygen much more quickly. And we've also indicated if you stay what we basically call on the program, and you're on the program and you stay compliant, we will assure you will not be back in the hospital within 12 months.
Wow.
So we're starting that program.
So what is it normally, though?
Well, the readmissions.
So that people know what the difference is, you know?
Okay, respiratory ailments, whether it's pneumonia, it's probably one of the greatest causes of readmissions to hospitals.
Gotcha.
Right? It's a very, very difficult thing to get rid of.
Don't they end up being readmitted after about 9 days after first being admitted in the hospital?
I had a friend of mine that was down here. She got pneumonia. She was readmitted 3 times within the first week. Went home for 2 days. Home for 2 days back in hospital.
Oh, you're kidding.
So we finally got her on our treatments. Right? She hasn't been readmitted since. Right?
Oh, wow.
The treatments consist of one of our clinical therapists that goes in there. And they give you a treatment for 7 days the first week, 4 days the second week. They'll continue it if you need it. Now, that's a great program.
So does Medicare, because that's one of the questions I had too. How long can you be on Medicare?
A very good question. Medicare, we take you on, the first episode is 60 days.
Okay.
But people have been on much, much longer. We've had people on a year, 2 years, people with diabetes, where they can't basically give themselves injection shots.
Oh.
We end up taking the case over until, it could be a year, 2 years, until we get somebody primarily in there to train. If there's nowhere in there to train, no one in the household to train you, then you're entitled to home care.
Gotcha.
So it's indefinite how long you can stay on it if
Okay.
there's the need is there.
Okay.
So, excuse me, I better get one of those therapy treatments myself. And where I am, I need the treatment.
Ed, he needs you.
So, and I got to reassure you, home care is your benefit that, trust me, I think most people heal much quicker at home
Oh,
than
absolutely.
they do in a hospital or
Yes.
facility.
Yes.
So if you had a choice of going home with home care, make sure you tell your doctor you want home care and consider us. Consider All County Health Care. We're locally owned. We've been in business 25 years. We know what your needs are. We'll fulfill your doctor's requirements. We'll follow your doctor's direction. And as one of our nurses said, you'll meet our nurses. Every one of our nurses have years of experience. Every one of our physical therapists, years of experience. They've all got background checks. Everybody has to go through a fingerprinting.
Yeah. The other thing, though, that I want to ask you, though, who makes that choice?
The
Who
cho-
chooses
Well, here's the thing.
the home health care? Who chooses that?
It's really the patient's choice.
Oh, it's a patient. Oh, okay.
Well,
All
if
right.
you get to a hospital and the hospital says, well, we got this, and you want to choose an agency that you know the people and you like the people or you want to talk to someone else, listen, it's your choice. They said, listen, I just heard about this company, All County Healthcare. I would like to try them. And if you ask for them and they don't give them, they don't call us, then you call me and I'll make sure they will call us. Okay? Because it's like everything else, people have their favorites, right?
Call Mr. Lou. He'll make sure.
Call me, and as I said, we've been in business 25 years. Most of the people in the hospital know of us, know of me. I've been around all these case managers and case workers for a number of years. And, I think we have, in the industry, I think we have a great, 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 great reputation.
Excellent.
Because you're going to get what you deserve and you're going to heal much faster.
I love that. So, let us know what's different about you. Yeah, because there's many out there that you can choose from. What makes you different? Other than the respiratory piece of it, that's really cool.
Being a senior, and I always say to myself, medicine has become money. Over the years, medicine has become money.
Yes.
What's in it for me? How much money am I going to make? Doctors get in and we're going to make a lot of the money. Well, today, doctors aren't getting paid what they really should get paid. The hospitals are getting the bulk of the money. And the fact is, what I feel is that you got to give the patient what they need. If it's 30 visits, the patient sees a nurse 30 times, fine. You'll see a nurse 30 times for a wound. They have to see a patient twice a day or 3 times a day for insulin. They're going to get that from us.
Okay.
That's all a cost factor, right? We don't put cost above care.
Wow.
Care comes first, cost comes second.
Wow.
Matter of fact, when they started Medicare, the whole theory years ago was on cost reimbursement. That means the companies were given a bunch of money to spend, and they had to spend that money. And the theory was a third for profit, a third to break even, and a third you would lose. So it wasn't a profit-making center. It was a cost reimbursement center.
Oh, I understand.
Well, I sort of follow that scenario today. The scenario today is, I feel this way. People say, oh, there's a lot of competition. Well, there really isn't any competition if you do the right thing. Right? If you do the right if you follow Medicare's guidelines, you do what you're supposed to do. You follow the doctor's orders. You don't scrimp. You don't try to give the patient something they're not entitled to. And let me tell you, people out there, if a nurse is supposed to come 3 times a week, make sure she's there 3 times a week. If a physical therapist comes 3 times a week, make sure they're there 3 times a week.
Good.
If you can't make it, notify the company. They'll reschedule it. Okay. Because what happens is, there's certain companies that say, we'll only take this case or we'll only take that case. Well, we'll take any case.
Wow.
We'll take a case that might not make us any money, might lose us a lot of money. But guess what? We know the patient's being taken care of. So medicine today, we practice the old-fashioned way. We want to earn your business.
That's
And
excellent.
we earn your business by doing the right thing.
Wow.
And the right thing is getting you healthier and happier faster.
That's
the
excellent.
whole key. This whole program is to educate the seniors of what you're entitled to. Trust me, I'm a senior. It gets more difficult to get up there in age.
My dear, we're all getting up there.
You know,
Some are going a little faster than others.
And every day when you wake up, you find there's something else wrong. There's something
God,
else wrong.
another ache, another pain.
Or
Oh,
you
no.
might want to move a little slower. But the key thing is, remember, it's your choice. You choose and you select whatever doctor you want, whatever agency you want. If you have to go for a second opinion, go for a second opinion. If you're not happy with your agency for some reason or another, call us. We can always change agencies.
Okay.
We can change agencies at the beginning, the middle, or the end of it.
Okay. And please give us your name again. Not as if I don't know.
My name is Lou, that she couldn't pronounce
No!
Biasi.
Biasi. I got it.
And they're making fun of my Italian heritage.
Yeah. Well, just a little bit.
Well,
you know?
that's okay. You know,
But you know something, you're a fun guy though, anyhow. You know?
I can take it, but that's okay. You know, as I said, you know, I'm an old-fashioned guy.
Yeah.
And I really believe in respecting your elderly, respect your seniors. That's one of the things we've given up today. We've given up the respect for seniors. That's the unfortunate part of it. I know a lot of family members don't even call their mom and dad.
Wow.
So if you're out there and you're a family member, call your mom, call your dad.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
Because they'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the only person they get to see is that home health aide or that nurse.
Yes.
Right? So remember, the elderly today, they always say one thing, and I really mean this. You're once an adult, you're twice a child. You come in as a child, and if you live long enough, unfortunately, you go out as a child.
Wow.
So we want to make sure that in those elderly years, you're going to live longer and healthier and fulfilled. Sickness today, there's many, many cures today. One of my close friends was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. She's up to Mass General now, and we think we can give her a much longer life than she expected to live.
Wow.
So every day somebody's coming down with something,
Yeah.
and there's more cures out there.
Yes.
Get that second opinion. Get that third opinion. You're entitled to it. Go and get it.
Yes.
And be happy with what you get. And remember, the agency you choose, what you choose, the doctor you choose, it's all up to you. You got to be comfortable with whoever you're choosing
Yes.
and know the people.
Yeah, that's very important. And you know, it's something I just to go back, if you're on Medicare Part A or Part B, you don't need a referral. You get to stay with your doctor that you might have been with for the last 20 or 25, 30 years. So that's a really, really important piece as well.
And you can go to any Medicare, any institution, any hospital, any facility, whether it's a skilled facility or it's an ALF. If it's covered by Medicare or rehab, they will accept Medicare before they'll accept any other type of insurance.
Wow.
Medicare at one time wasn't the best paying source when there was private insurance, but today doctors love the Medicare profession. And the primary care physician would say, well, you know, we're going to try to switch you. You're on Medicare now to an HMO. Tell the doctor, no thanks, I want to stay on my Medicare. Right? Remember, that's a government program you've been paying for years. And you're still paying for it. They'll take it out of your Social Security.
That's right. You might as well use it.
And trust me, you don't see too many ads saying join Medicare, but you see a lot of ads saying join Humana, join this, join this, join that. Medicare spends almost 99 cents in every dollar in medicine. And that's important.
Wow.
They spend money on your care. Sometimes they overspend it, but they do spend it. Okay? So my advice is, please, if you have a choice, stay on straight Medicare, Part A, Part B. When that person comes in and tries to sell you a different program, say, gee, not really. I'm not interested in that.
No.
Don't try to save some money when it comes to your health care.
Well, thank you so much. I really do appreciate
my
that.
pleasure.
You have been just a fountain of information.
Well, we have a lot more. So if you want to give me a call, call me at 954-717-7027. Ask for me. You can ask for anybody in my office. Just tell them, make sure Lou calls me. I heard him on the radio, and I'll get back to you within the same day.
Okay, and you can also go to his website, allcountyhealthcare.com, if you want to find out any additional information. And we thank you very, very much. It's been a pleasure to have you here. We are, unfortunately, coming to the end. I mean, we've had such great guests on today and given us a lot of information. We are on every Tuesday from 6 to 7, and we want participants. Please call in, take down the number and everything, 888-565-1470. And also, if there's any doctors out there that would like to be on the show, please email me at LarinaAnderson.com, LAURINA, Anderson with an O, @gmail.com. And we would love to have an interview with you. And we want to educate all of our listeners. So this is Lorena Anderson. Thank you for joining us here today for You and Your Doctor and all of my guests that have been on. And we look forward to being with you next week. Please join us.
Thank you for letting us share with you a longer and healthier lifestyle. If you have a doctor or are a doctor and wish to be on the show, call AMP2 TV at 866-244-5422, and we will put you on the air as soon as possible. Tune in next week for more information on living longer and having a healthier life. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests,